Hey, happy Easter. You know, this is the greatest day for a Christian person in the calendar year. We love Christmas because we don't get to Easter without Christmas, but we love Easter because it is the defining moment of our faith. Our faith rises and falls on the fact of the resurrection. And I say it's a fact because we have eyewitnesses who were there who wrote down what they saw. They saw the empty tomb. They saw him along the road. They fell at his feet and worshiped him. They touched him with their hands. They put their fingers where the nail holes were and in his side where the sword went in. They knew that Jesus was alive, and they lived that story out and told that story for the rest of their lives, never recounting and going through persecution and punishment because they knew what they had seen was true. And they want us to know it's true. And so they wrote it down. And it's beautiful that the stories are all accounted for in all four Gospels. And when you read the Gospels and you read the resurrection story, you actually see that they're slightly different one from the other. They're not all exactly the same. We know in Matthew's Gospel that when Mary and the other Mary went to the tomb, they saw an angel sitting on top of the stone that had been rolled away. I think Luke's Gospel says there were two angels inside the tomb. I love just these slight variations because it's in the variations that we recognize the truth of the story. Ironically, it's what confirms the truth of it to me. If you were to be in the middle of a town somewhere and there was an accident and there was some people who were interviewed about what they saw, and some were on one street corner, some were on another street corner, some were across the way in a car, they all would recount the accident slightly different because they would have seen slightly different things. But the eyewitnesses would be the most important people the police would want to speak to because they would want to say, what did you see? And I just love the stories because all of them are there for us so that we might be able to recognize the truth. And the same truth is written in all of them, that on that Easter Sunday morning, the stone was rolled back, not so that Jesus could get out, but so that the witnesses could go in and see that he was gone. The guards were not a threat. They were like dead men. They were kind of almost like they passed out, or maybe they were blinded by the angel some way, or maybe God just struck them motionless for a time. I'm not really sure, but they were not a threat, and they were able to see nothing but the bloody shroud that was left that had been wrapped around Jesus' body. And then later they saw Jesus along the road. They fell at his feet and worshiped him. Jesus later appeared to Peter and the others after they had returned fishing along the beach. He had fish on a fire. They ate with him. There's the beauty of the fact that he went to see the disciples once and Thomas wasn't there. It was a Sunday and he wasn't there. And the disciples said, hey, Thomas, we've seen Jesus. He's alive. And Thomas says, nope, I'm not going to believe it. Even though he had lived with these guys for 3 years, he was not willing to believe a word of what they said until he put his fingers in the nail holes and his hand in his side. The very next week, on a Sunday, Jesus comes back. Thomas is there, and he says to Thomas, see these nail holes, see these wounds, stop doubting and believe. And his response is beautiful. My Lord and my God. You know, I want you to check it out. If you're not a believer, if you're like, yeah, I think Jesus was a great man, but I don't know about this resurrection story, don't just not believe it and just kind of be a stick in the mud about it. Check it out. Read The Case for Christ and The Case for Faith by Lee Strobel, a man who was an atheist, who eventually became a believer because he studied the story of Jesus, and in the process of studying it to disprove it, came to believe it. And that's what I hope that you'll do. You know, eyewitnesses are so important. I just said that earlier, but here's another way to think of an eyewitness account. Let's say you and I went to a Braves game together, and you drove separately from me, and I met you at the ballpark. We got there, the game was terrible. It gets to be the bottom of the 8th inning. The Braves are down 8-1. You're like, hey, I gotta go. I'm gonna get up early in the morning and get to work, so I'm gonna head on out. I say, no problem, go on. I'm gonna stay and watch the end of the game. Top of the 9th comes, the Braves go down 10-1. Now they're down even worse. I think, well, I'm here. I might as well just stay to the end. And the Braves mount a furious comeback till 10-7, 10-8. They eventually get it 10-9. The bases are loaded. There's 2 outs. Acuna's up. He laces a ball up the middle, and the runner from second scores, sliding into home, and the crowd goes crazy, and the Braves win, 11-10. And I see you the next day, and I tell you the whole story. And one of the things you're going to love is that I was there to see it, because I'm going to try and tell you that story as if you got to see it too. And that's what the disciples did. They wrote this down and want you to be able to recognize in your mind what happened as if you were there too. And if you put your faith and your trust in Jesus, it's like you were there because you believe in him so profoundly in your heart. I love how John wrote these words, but these are written, these words in his gospel, John 20, verse 31. These are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. Jesus defeated death, and by defeating death, he proved that there is life after death. Job one time asked, if a man dies, will he live again? People have always wanted to know that, and Jesus proved that it's true. You can have life after death if you put your faith and your trust in Jesus. Check out the story, read it, and know for sure no other religious leader ever did what Jesus did. And what he did for you because he loves you. Happy Easter. Keep walking with him, and I'll do the same. If you like this video and you want to get more, like and subscribe down below. But just have a great week and have a blessed day in the name of the Lord. See you soon.